I came from a fairly creative family, and so making art was just something we always did. So I'm really interested in thinking about the body beyond the so-called abled body, and one that works really well in other ways. I think a lot about the ways in which one can feel that, regardless of whether their body functions in the sort of neurotypical way, but also the ways in which we can reimagine what a body looks like so that it's more inclusive and sort of more representative of what humans are. I'm Jesse Harrod, and I'm an artist here at the Arts Industry Residency. I was sick a lot as a kid. I had to spend a lot of time in bed and in the hospital. So my dad would draw pictures on fabric and then I would embroider them. I just had my 12th heart surgery in December. So I'm very familiar with what it's like to not feel present in my body or for my body to be limited in so many ways. I make large-scale pieces that require a lot of repetitive work. So there's that layer of me being able to sort of engage my own body in that way. And then there's this idea of creating forms that, for me, often sort of represent an abstracted idea of what the body could potentially be. I was offered a job in Virginia at a fairly rural school. It was a really complicated place to live, particularly as a queer woman. My students had never heard of feminism or critical race theory or any of these ideas. And I had to do a lot of education for myself, and I also had to figure out a way to talk about fiber, which is rooted in feminist history and also rooted in queer lives and folks of color. When we got to second wave feminism of the 60s and 70s, I decided I would teach them to macrame. Macrame was a really great technique that spoke to that moment in time in predominantly white American culture. That particular type of feminism was my mother's feminism. Working with this process and this technique, I could sort of think about her experience of life at that time, but bring it into this contemporary space that's much more inclusive and diverse. So I got really excited about macrame and started making my own work. Oftentimes I work with materials that speak to survival in one way or another. Paracord, for example, is something that I found at these highly problematic survivalist stores in Virginia. I was really excited about taking this material out of this space that felt kind of violent in certain ways and reclaiming it and creating something that celebrated body and survival and queerness. For me, queerness obviously is important. I think part of being queer is there's no roadmap for you, so you're defining things on your own terms. I have always been obsessed with sci-fi. An inherent part of sci-fi is that your otherness becomes your strength. It's a space where being so-called different or non-normative or non-neurotypical becomes a place of strength and pride. And that's not going to happen in this moment, so we need to imagine another space where that can happen. The residency has been incredible. I have learned so much. I've been trying to think of it as like alchemy, translating the materials that I work with into these really hard, stable, heavy materials. The Arts Industry Residency allows you the opportunity to work with materials and processes that you would never be able to use anywhere else. The technicians are amazing, and the factory workers, the associates, their knowledge and understanding of the materials and the processes is profound. I think we've always, as humans, engaged in some sort of creative expression, and that should be nurtured and explored and funded.